Hey everybody, it's that time of the week again. We discuss episode 2 of The Amazing Race. Joining me tonight as always is Calbert. Calbert, how you doing?
What's going on, everybody? Doing good.
Awesome. So, let's go right into it. This week was episode 2, like we said, of The Amazing Race. Last week we were in Japan and we had Art and JJ with a surprise exit because of a cramp in Art's leg, I believe. And yeah, we kind of started off the episode with some of the teams greeting Rupert and Laura. And yeah, from that point on, it was decided that they were going to Laos. So that was kind of interesting. Chris, what did you think of just the fact that they were going to Laos and it was a new country that they've never been there before?
I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought them doing the monk ceremony was interesting too. That was something different for everybody to experience. And it being a different country, everybody seemed to handle it pretty well, which was good to see. Even the tuk-tuks, which I guess are the equivalent of like taxi cabs. So, but everybody seemed to enjoy it, and everybody seemed to enjoy their time, and including with the elephants, which we'll get to, I'm sure, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But so I thought it was a pretty good episode. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I think with the whole, they had to do a prayer ceremony with the monks. I thought that was kind of interesting. Colin and Christy really took to that with their whole new, Zen enlightenment characters they're kind of bringing on. I'm really wondering how long, though, they can go before the old Colin hits, Something.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for, because they even talked about that in this episode too, about how they become more Zen-like, and they really, like you said, they really enjoyed that part. And even this week with the U-turn, I mean, they didn't get U-turned, but I wonder had they gotten U-turned, how they would have reacted.
Yeah. So so then we kind of started after that prayer ceremony where they all kind of got their clue and they had to go find the U-turn board. And the first team to the U-turn board was none other than the sisters. But we've
Rachel,
also,
yep.
yeah, Rachel and Alyssa, they also had they kind of had a pact to start off with, to start off, and they had a pact with Team Fun, but it seemed as fast as that pact was made, it was even broken quicker than it was made. So that was weird.
Yeah, but I mean, to U-turn Team Fun just because of that. I mean, they were obviously looking for the ticket booth just like everybody else was to get on, because they had to get your ticket first before before you get on before you could head to the airport. So I mean, I thought that was kind of. I mean, they said it's because they're a threat because they're good. The Team Fun's a good team. But then you broke the pact, what would have been like, I don't know, however long the flight was. So let's say it's like, 3-4 hours. So you broke the pact that quickly because you were all looking for the same ticket booth. I thought that was kind of dumb to create an alliance that quickly. But that's a good point, though. That was something that was the team started to kind of do this week. And I thought for it only being the second week to already be starting to kind of create alliances with teams was interesting, I thought.
Yeah, and it's a really really strong race pool. There's so many good teams in this season, and it's really it's gonna be it's a really stiff competition. So I think for them to throw the double U-turn in second episode, wow, that really kind of created some drama right off the bat, and
Yeah.
as soon as we got to Laos, you could kind of see that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the sisters, weren't they first to get to the board? And
They were. They were.
okay,
And it was interesting too, because I mean, Victor was standing back there waiting, and forgive me, I'm blanking on the 13 that was also standing there waiting.
I know. Colin and Christy was second there because they chose not to do anything.
Right.
So
I mean, that must have been like an eternity. So I mean, I'm not faulting for any of the other teams that were like standing there going, "Come on, make up your mind. Are you going to U-turn somebody or not?"
And from what I remember, they said that I believe the whole, flight from Japan to Laos was literally like a day from that point. So after, the whole ticket thing in Japan, they, the sisters, they probably had a whole day to think about, okay, if we get a U-turn, we're going to U-turn Team Fun because, they felt like they betrayed us and whatnot. So they weren't getting along with Team Fun.
I thought
mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Which I mean, and then you get to the U-turn board, and Team Fun just their fun meter went from fantastic to 0 in the span of 30 seconds because you got U-turned. Like they were not happy to get U-turned. They were very, very upset. Now, eventually they would U-turn Tyler and Corey. But I was like, okay, so what that you got U-turned? I mean, you can use that excuse as, yes, we're a good team. So, use that as fire, which eventually they did, and they did well. But I mean, Becca was not happy. Becca cussed up a storm, which that's very, very uncharacteristic for her. Also,
you know what though? I will say to that in the last season they were on, season 29. There was a time when Floyd forgot his password his passport, and she flipped out. I mean, she flipped out. She flipped out at him, and she definitely has a side of anger. Like, yeah, they're Team Fun, but they're not Team Fun when the going gets tough. And especially Becca, she's really competitive. I think more competitive than she lets on. And I don't want to say the Team Fun gimmick is BS, but in some aspects it kind of is, because I think it's not always fun if you're losing. We all know that. It's fun if you're winning, but it's not fun if you're losing. So, yeah, well, I think.
Right. I mean, and I mean, she was obviously even frustrated with her elephant, which I mean, Rupert's spirit animal, did him in, which we'll touch on later. But you could even tell that her even being on the elephant, she was kind of getting a little frustrated. Like, the excitement of her being on the elephant kind of went away as soon as she crossed the water. Cool, I'm on an elephant. Oh, the elephant's going into the water.
Well, Team Fun, I mean, the thing with Team Fun is, I mean, if you really were playing your cards right and you knew Rupert and Laura were behind you, you should have just double U-turned them, okay? Because that's a guarantee that you're going to survive and you're not going to be eliminated. But them U-turning Tyler and Corey, I get it. They probably didn't think they had, a lot of time to think about it. But had they known, I don't know if they knew that Rupert and Laura were behind them, but they knew that Team Fun or Corey and Tyler were behind them, so they probably figured, okay, we have to. And how about the Afghanimals, like having force powers like Obi-Wan Kenobi? You shall not pass. Like, how do they just have these powers where they can convince people to do their bidding? Like, it's amazing. It's just amazing.
It really was, and that's part of the reason why they won. Why they won in the race, because towards the end, Victor knew which way to go.
Yes.
And
yeah,
she listened to them and not Victor. And I mean, yes, it ended up being a sprint to the mat, but they're pretty smart.
Yeah.
So I mean, I at least got the power ranking number 1 team correct from last week, which was the Cousins. Now, granted, I also did say that I thought that there could be a different team finishing first this week, but they're really good. I mean, they even had Team Fun help them with finding the fish and the duck, to make the skewers.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
for the barbecue.
yeah.
So I mean,
let's
I
talk
don't know
about
what they
that.
do. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
let's.
they're
I mean,
good at
let's.
it, whatever it is.
Right. Let's talk about the task, the detour that we had. We had one task where you had to learn the Laos alphabet, which seemed very hard. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, a lot of those words or letters sounded the same. And we also had one where you had to make like almost like a fillet. I mean, what would you have chosen there? Since this is our first detour of the season.
I probably would want the barbecue. I mean, even though it did kind of look like it took a little long because you had to tie it up towards the end. I mean, so yes, that's a little time consuming, and you had to do. I think it was 4 fish and three duck. So I mean, yes, that's time consuming as well. But just the tone in the alphabet that would have frustrated me because everything to me sounded similar. Like, yes, I mean the tone for one letter is up and the tone for one letter is down, but it all sounded alike to me. So
Yeah, yeah.
Even though it seemed like in hindsight that was probably the faster one,
right.
to do, I still would have done the barbecue one because that would have been that's easy. Okay, 4 fish, 3 duck, and
right.
then I tie it up. Okay, cut the fish and then cut the duck.
Right.
Sounds simple enough.
Yeah, if you're
opposed to
you're right. I mean,
Harvard Yard.
And with the alphabet, it was kind of a judgment call, right? If they thought you did good enough, you could go ahead. But at least if you're good with cooking and you're like a butcher or whatever, you can at least get that task done in an amount of time where you feel pretty confident, that you can get it right. I think a lot of teams though they had struggles with the tying, like they could not tie the thing correctly. It had to be tied a certain way.
I'm not exactly sure that when they saw the example, I don't know how many. It didn't seem like a lot of teams knew that they had to tie it. They got the point as far as like how it was supposed to look. How the fish was supposed to look and how the duck was supposed to look. But it seemed to me like a lot of the teams did not know that it had to be tied a certain way. To me, I mean, I'm only going off what I saw on TV. So
right.
And obviously that's a judgment call. So like, and even like as we saw, like simple math. Okay, it sounded like there had to be like a total of 8. So 5 fish, 3 duck. Well, and obviously if one of the fish wasn't cut correctly, well then you had to go back.
Mm-hmm.
And which happened also. So I still would have done that though because it just looked easier. It really did, and each teacher that was teaching the alphabet had even a different tone themselves. So like I would have been confused standing there going, okay, this letter sounds like that letter, which sounds like that letter, but I'm not getting a yay or nay as far as, yes, that's right, no, that's not right, even though it all sounds alike, and the kids aren't going to say anything because they're kids.
You're right. So, yeah, they're not going to do anything. No doubt.
Right.
They're just going to laugh and whatnot. But I think. Yeah, exactly. And then the funny thing was, Rupert and Laura weren't even the last team to leave. But whatever vehicle that took them from the detour to the roadblock, they had to stop for gas, and they got passed up by like everybody. So. I mean, I guess the thing is like you just gotta hope that you get the right vehicle.
Right, and a driver that's willing to go fast, because we saw that also that there were some drivers that weren't going terribly fast, and that cost teams. So.
Yeah,
there
was quite a few teams that got passed up. I mean, that weren't going as fast. So, so the detour, with me, I think I'm not a great cook. I guess it would depend on if my partner was a great cook. I'm okay with picking up on things as far as like a language goes. I may have picked the alphabet. But it definitely looked intimidating, no doubt. So I do have a good memory, though. So having a good memory, I think, would have gotten you pretty far in that task. So I probably would have picked the alphabet.
and I'm not exactly sure because it looked like to me. I mean, some of the teams they were both doing it when they were doing the alphabet, and then for some of them it looked like only one person was pronouncing the word or letter. I'm sorry, letter. So, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, think of
it would
this.
be easier to. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, think of this though too. As far as those two tasks, think of like Team Fun and Tyler and Corey, like two of the happiest kind of teams on there. Realistically, they both get put through a W turn and somehow survive. Obviously, it took their smiles off a little. They weren't definitely happy about that.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So.
I mean, and at that point, and being the fact that you've gotten U-turned so quickly, your job is just to survive and advance at any cost.
Yeah.
Which they both did. So
it really is.
It's not pretty. Like my team finished 7th, your team finished 5th, and I believe Team Fun finished 8th.
I think didn't Team Fun finish 9th? They were last.
9th, yeah.
Yeah,
9th.
I think,
Yep.
and my
9th.
team, Colin and Christy, they finished 4th, I believe.
4th, okay.
They were actually able to pass someone on the way to the from the roadblock to the finish line, so they kind of got lucky there, I believe. So, let's talk about. Then we got to the roadblock, which was riding an elephant, crossing the river on the elephant, finding the guy that played that instrument that's only apparently in Laos, and he would give you your next clue. I think this task was, pretty. It was cool to look at, but I don't think it really changed much of the order. It was just kind of like you had to hope you got a good elephant. So.
Right, a good elephant that you could actually listen.
Yeah.
That would actually listen to you, because that's the thing too. Like, and that was where that's all about tone. It's not even necessarily about, because there was, it's about pitch too.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I believe it was Brittany that said, "I've noticed that the elephant doesn't like it when you yell at it." Okay, you are not allowed to kick it. You are not allowed to hit it. It's an elephant, and you're not going to get a saddle on an elephant. I thought that was hysterical. I'm like, it's an elephant, not a horse.
Right.
You're not going to get a saddle.
Oh.
But I mean, so that's where tone and pitch and a little bit of luck came in handy.
Oh yeah.
Because you're not going to get the elephant to say, elephant go left, and the elephant's not, it's completely up to the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
You're not in charge.
And then, and then Christy using her Zen tactics, saying, "Oh, if you talk nice to it, it will listen to you."
Yeah.
And then you got people going pie, trying to get it to go.
Yep.
So that's pretty funny.
With about 6 people in the river at the same time too.
Right.
Eventually.
On Rupert, the interviews that he's been kind of given, he said that he got the last pick of the elephant, and he got the one that was very stubborn, because most of the elephants that were taken before him said were really eager to go and walk and whatnot. And I guess Rupert said that he wouldn't even eat the food that was given to Rupert. He had to go off on his own and eat his own food, basically. So, yeah.
It looked like it ate some grass just on its own.
Yeah.
Rupert had food, and the elephant was just like, "Yeah, that's nice. Screw you."
Right. I'm gonna go. So I don't think as much as in the incompetence of Rupert and Laura, really obviously affected them during this time. I don't know necessarily if this last, like, from the time he was in the vehicle to the time he was on the elephant, I don't know if that was necessarily his fault. I think maybe he just kind of got the bottom of the barrel, and that's where the cumulative effect of the Amazing Race, takes place. Like, you don't want to take 10th place on the first leg. You want to take higher, because stuff like this can affect you down the road. So obviously, the higher you finish, the better it's going to be going forward. So this is where, you don't want to hang out by the end, because it can bite you in the butt. And I think it bit Rupert and Laura.
Right. And I mean, that's where, I mean, we were both right. We both thought that Rupert and Laura would get eliminated this week. We were right about that. So, that's good for us. Write that down, because that probably will not happen the rest of the season. it's frustrating to have that be your spirit animal, and it's just going to do whatever it wants to do, you know. And it seemed like the words didn't seem hard, but to control the elephant. But if you didn't say it even sternly, the elephant wasn't gonna listen. So, the trainer wasn't even on the back of Rupert's elephant at the end. Like the trainer was on everybody else's elephant, not Rupert. Rupert was completely on an island all by himself. You know, trying to get the elephant to go forward. You know, so.
Right, and most of the teams, they may have had some small hiccups at the the detours, and they may have had some small hiccups at the elephant, but most of them got through the task. I think Rupert really had the most trouble. But let's talk about the end then. Let's talk about the part where, like you said in the beginning, the Afghanimals just deceiving Nicole and Victor, and basically didn't correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Afghanimals also say that the helmets had your name on it? Did I hear someone say that? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Victor did.
Okay, Victor said that.
They went to grab helmets, and they were like, "Oh, our name's on it," because the cousin said that your name's on it. So, and that let's go back just 30 seconds later. Earlier, I'm sorry, and Victor was trying to tell certain teams where the box was for the clue, and the cousins were like, "No, don't tell them.
Right.
Don't tell them."
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, the deception and deceivery has already started, and I think that's the thing that the team survivors and Big Brother teams are learning, is that it starts right away. There are no friends, there are no alliances.
Right.
So, welcome to the Amazing Race.
Right. So. There's no. It's all about you, yourself, and your teammate, and that's it. Really. I mean, you can have an alliance for a little while, but eventually that'll get broken up.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
And I don't know when this. I mean, I know Victor was frustrated getting into the boat, heading to the mat, saying, "I know I was going the right way." Well, okay. If you knew that, then say to Nicole, "It's over here."
Right.
Know? And because she's listening to them, to the cousins. So if you know where it is, go ahead and get your helmet and head onto the boat, and then yell.
Right.
I don't know necessarily. I think that he thought that they were going to take the lead. I'm not exactly sure that was going to happen, because it looked fairly close, even to the race of the boat. So.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, there wasn't a lot of separation in a lot of these tasks. I think they were all maybe like within 10 minutes, 12, 15 minutes of each other. Maybe not Rupert, obviously. Rupert probably finished pretty behind him, and maybe a half hour at latest. But, I think there was enough, placement differential from last week to say, okay, there was, you could pick your spots if you really, cruise through these challenges. You could move up. So, but the Afghanimals, give them credit. They did a lot of tactics in these first two episodes, and they've gotten back-to-back first place. Whether they should have gotten first place this week, maybe Nicole and Victor should have got it, but, hey, they played the game of deception, and it worked for them. So, yeah, I gotta give them props. I mean, they definitely impressed me. How long will that work? I don't know. And they're making a lot of enemies pretty quickly, so they're gonna have to.
It seems like
they're gonna have to really hope, though, that they keep high in the rankings, because if they get another U-turn, who's gonna be number one target? They will.
And it seems like with just going off a little bit of the preview for next week as they head to Vietnam, it looks like there is like legitimate arguing between the two of them heading into this week. So like they kind of played it off in Tokyo. Oh, we're gonna argue with each other. Ha ha ha. Let's throw the other teams off. No, we're in the back of a cab now. And we're actually arguing with each other. So, I mean that could be a setup, but the deception so far 2 for 2, but you can only do that for so long.
Right.
I think that the genie eventually runs out of wishes at some point.
Right.
So,
And I the thing with me, I'm thinking a lot of these teams are kind of the happy-go-lucky teams like Tyler and Corey and Team Fun. I don't know if they can be themselves this season because it's just too intense. Like, there's just too many good teams. I mean, they're going to be hunting. I mean, every team is a threat. Like, you could look at all these teams that were casted, besides maybe Rupert and Laura, where you could say, okay, this team legitimately is a threat, and they can be just a great team. I mean, maybe Chris and Brett you could make an argument for as well. That I don't know how good they're going to do, but going into this season, you could see there's so many really good teams. So I think with them two, they're all going to be on the heels,
Right.
So
right. I mean, and I hope they enjoy the $2,500 they got each for finishing first this week.
Oh yeah.
Because everybody's good. That's the thing about that. When you finish first in back-to-back weeks, that not that the target wasn't already on their backs, but it sure is. It's sure going to be on this week for sure. I would think everybody's going to go, okay. They've had their fun. We know how they. That's the other thing too. As the weeks go on, you kind of can pick up on tendencies that teams like to do, right? As they're doing tasks. So,
right. They're super aggressive.
Everybody else is going to go. Yeah, everybody else is going to go, oh, okay, I know how this works now. I know what these guys are going to do, and I'm just flat out not going to listen to them. Kind of like what Nicole said. I'm just not going to listen to them anymore.
Right. Well, yeah, she learned her lesson. I mean, she learned her lesson pretty quickly. Right. I mean, their game of deception has definitely worked against plenty of teams. It's pretty much fooled almost all of them. Not all of them, but I would say a good 80% of the teams on this season, they've been able to trick somehow and do their bidding for them. So I give them props. So how would you rate the episode out of 10?
Well, considering it's a new, I mean, I like the fact that it was a new country. I'll give it a 7. That elephant would have frustrated me because I've done a little bit of horseback riding now. Granted, I mean, an elephant is something different, but that would have frustrated me to no end.
Yeah.
But that's just because it's an elephant,
right? Right.
So I'm gonna give it, just because I don't think both tasks would have frustrated me. I sorted on the barbecue. I'm gonna go 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
I thought it was good. I'm glad they were in a new country. That makes that's interesting.
I mean, anytime we get one like that, I think the last time we were in a new country was in Colombia. Like the last time they visited one they hadn't visited before. Yeah, anytime you get that, I think it's pretty special in its own right. I'm gonna actually give it, because it was a new country and because they did, a really kind of visually cool looking task. I'm gonna give it like a 7.7 out of 10. I know I gave it last week like a 7 out of 10, but this week I'll go 7.7. I thought it was a pretty interesting episode. Obviously, you throw the U-turn in there. That always makes for compelling TV. I thought the detour had some pretty cool challenges, and they looked challenging enough. And I think that a lot of teams had some struggles with it, and I thought it was pretty interesting to hear the language, and also interesting to see the fish fry and the duck fillet, or the fish fillet and the duck. And you had to prepare that. So that was pretty cool. 7.7. So let's go through our power rankings, I guess. Who do you got for 9th?
Ninth, I'll go. That's a good question. I'll go Chris and Brett.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. You called your elephant Brett. Sorry, Brett. Great. Your elephant's name's Brett now. So I mean, they seem to be the next team. If I'm guessing, something, they're going to make another mistake, kind of like they did in the first week, where they got up to the top of the mountain and didn't see the clue. So that's the team where they're going to make one mistake, and that's going to be enough to push them over, I think.
Yeah.
if it's an elimination, which the way this season's gone, that actually wouldn't surprise me if that came up this week. I don't know anything, right? But,
right.
But I would say for right now, Chris and Brett would be 9.
9. Yeah, I agree. They haven't shown me anything to move them up from the spot I had them at last week, so I'm gonna keep Chris and Brett at 9. They really didn't get a lot of camera time either. I don't think they did anything horribly wrong this episode, but they're not like doing anything to make me move them up either. So, and you can tell strong teams, like I'm not gonna really dock Team Fun or Tyler and Corey for the situation that had basically moved them down the pegs. But for a team like Chris and Brett, you want to see a team like that. If you want to prove me something, you got to move up. And they're not really moving up. I mean, I think maybe they took like 8th or 7th, somewhere in there, 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So I just there's not enough. It's not enough for me to move them up anywhere. So I'm gonna have them at 9th as well. So I'll start 8th. Who I got 8. I'm gonna go with Janelle and Brittany. They did all right this week. They didn't do anything really bad, but once again, it's kind of similar to Chris and Brett. There's nothing there that shows me that I'm gonna move them up, and they're gonna be a really strong team. So I'm gonna keep them at 8th spot. Who is your 8th team?
I'm gonna go Rachel and Eliza. They were arguing with each other at the barbecue place, and it was just a minor mistake of not tying it correctly, and so that already they eventually figured it out. They fixed it. They sang Kumbaya, and everything was fine. But that's not a good sign already. If it's something as simple as not tying something correctly and you fly off the handle, that's your sister. I mean, so that's not good.
Right.
So I got them at 8.
Okay, that's an interesting. I think they did pretty well this week too, didn't they? As far as placing wise, they were.
Yeah, as far as placing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm not blaming you for putting them where that you put them, but I thought they were in. Were they third or? I thought they took third, but I could be wrong on that. Yeah. So okay, so you can go with the 7th place then.
7, I'm gonna go with Corinne and Eliza. I just think that they're going off of the preview. Looks like their task in Vietnam is gonna give them some trouble this coming up week. So they're another team that also they didn't do anything wrong this week either. But I think this is where, someone had said, I believe it was the Cousins who said the tasks are going to get harder as the weeks go on, and so I think that as the tasks get harder, that's going to make it harder for them. So I have them at 7.
Okay. 7th, I also have Corinne and Eliza because similar to Chris and Brett, they did okay this week. They weren't bad. I want to say they took 5th or 6th. But yeah, I'm just I haven't seen enough from them to move them up over a lot of the returning racing teams. So I'm gonna put them at 7. 6th place, we will go for me. I'm gonna go Team Fun. I just think that they're not as strong as a lot of teams think they are, or a lot of people think they are. And I think this season they are going up against some of the best competition, and I think it's kind of showing. I mean they were a mid-tier, upper mid-tier team the last season they were on. I don't know how much better they've gotten, and I think for some reason they got a feud going with the sisters. So that kind of worries me right now. So I actually got them at 6th place. Who do you got at 6th?
I agree. I also have Team Fun. I think they're going to be able to recover from what happened last week. And that's the thing too, like to kind of put a bow on the episode just in general. It's something big if both teams say we survived the U-turn, did both tasks, and still beat teams that only had to do one. Both Tyler and Corey and Team Fun said that this week, so that's obviously a big thing. But I think they'll be okay. I'm just not sure. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. And if something as simple as a U-turn flips them both out, what happens when you actually get to having to do a difficult task? Like, it seems like for this week's episode, it looks like there's going to be some type of like virtual dancing. So Floyd looks to be having kind of fun with it, but I mean, if it's something that's difficult, how are they going to handle that?
Right.
Is Beck going to fly off the handle again? Even if it's something as simple as like missing a step or a light not being on his suit correctly or something, So.
Sure. All right. So why don't you go with your fifth place team?
Fifth place, I'm gonna go Tyler and Corey, which is my pick.
Mm-hmm.
To win it all. They did enough to survive, and they both just took a deep breath, and it's a good thing. It's a really good thing that Tyler's dad was a butcher, because if Tyler's dad wasn't a butcher, I'm not sure they would have actually been able to finish the task. But they both kind of took a deep breath and survived. So.
All right, yeah. Fifth place for me, I'm also gonna go Tyler and Corey. It just, for me, they didn't do anything wrong per se. They just got double U-turned. But I got to move them down a little bit because I haven't seen that really, really strong team. They had a third place finish last week, and then this week, obviously, they were seventh. So I'm gonna move them right into the fifth spot. They're holding steady at 5. They're due for a really good week if we know them and their history. So they're due for a really good week, I would think. If they do, they can easily bounce back. But for right now, I got them at 5. So I'll go 4. I am actually going to move up Nicole and Victor to this spot because they impressed me. Getting that second place was huge. They could have got first. If they would have got first, I might even moved them up to 3. But for right now, they are definitely looking like the best team that is not from a returning race team. So I got Nicole and Victor at 4. They're moving up for me. They did a solid job. Now, who do you have at 4?
I have Colin and Christy. So they did nothing wrong. They're doing fine. Just keep steering the boat. As long as you keep steering the boat, you're fine. Don't let anybody take over the boat. Just keep it straight, and they'll be fine.
So then, who do you have at 3?
I have at 3. I have.
Now, I don't know. I think the team you might be thinking of is Janelle and Brittany. You haven't mentioned them yet.
Janelle and Brittany. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Janelle and Brittany at 3. Yep.
Okay. What do you like? What do you like about them? I mean, because maybe I'm not seeing it, but I don't know what it is. Like they definitely have potential. Like I've been noticing them getting a little more screen time. They definitely have potential. I don't know. I haven't seen enough from them. That's why I put them where I put them. But yeah.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's a fair pick. That's a fair point. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those teams that I had to pick somebody, and
sure
that for a surprise team. I mean, that they're just kind of that team too that they just kind of put their nose to the ground. At least they did this week. They put their nose to the ground
and got it done.
They just went about their task.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, I have them rated so low. I don't know. They just don't really do enough for me yet. I could easily put them next week ahead of Corinne and Eliza. There's no question there. But for now, I'm gonna keep them at 8th. But for my third place team, I'm gonna go with the team that you weren't really high on. I'm gonna go with the Sisters. There's just a lot of amazing race experience with Rachel, and I don't know. Yeah, they're arguing a little bit, but I think that's just her personality. And we've seen so many teams argue and still win the darn thing. I don't know. I really like them. They're pretty consistent as far as they've been in the upper echelon of the teams. So I'm gonna put them at 3. Now I'm gonna go to number 2. Now here's my switch. I'm gonna move Colin and Christy to number 2 because they did take 4th place this week. And I still think they're a really strong team, but I cannot justifiably put them at 1. So I am moving Colin and Christy to 2. I thought they did fine. They had a solid leg. They took the cooking test. They didn't really do bad on it. It's just they were kind of in that pack, and they really weren't able to make up any ground once they lost 2nd place. So I'm gonna keep them at number 2. Who's your number 2 team?
I have Nicole and Victor too. I think not only because of how they finished this week, and I could be completely wrong with this too. I mean, because it can change week to week. But I've liked what I've seen from them the past 2 weeks. They didn't get frustrated with the shoe challenge in the first week, even though they could have, because Victor ate a bunch of shoes. Victor ate a bunch of wood also, and now they're kind of getting a little bit in the groove of it, and of course, this can change week to week. So, but I've liked what I've seen. They kind of keep their heads about them, and they kind of keep cool. Like Victor could have easily flipped his lid and went, no, Nicole, I told you to go this way, and you didn't listen. Blah blah. As they're on the boat, but they didn't really. I mean, there was a little bit of that, right? But not to like, I'm gonna blow up at you because you didn't listen to me, and now we don't finish it first, So they're a surprising team so far, I think.
Yeah, and then who do you have at number 1?
Number 1, I have Leo and Jamal, which until they stumble or they run out of some would say sneaky tactics to if they run out of that, then my number will change. But so far I've had them 1 last week. I'll have them 1 again this week until subject change. I mean, they're clearly a very strong team. But that's also very dangerous that they're a very strong team, because the show can change week to week in an instant. You can go from 1st to 6th or 7th just based on the task, just based on a roadblock or a U-turn or a crappy cab driver. So
sure. I got number 1, the Afghanimals by far. Just their aggressiveness, their deceitfulness that's helped them win the legs two in a row. I definitely had to move them up this week. They impressed me a lot. I mean, they do whatever it takes to win, and you have to like that. So they are my new number 1 in the power rankings this week. Next week, who knows what'll happen, but for right now, based on these 2 weeks, they are definitely number 1 in the power rankings. They're running a great race right now, so we'll see if they can keep it up. Okay, so next week's episode, we are going to Vietnam. So we're going to stay in Asia. We're going to Vietnam. We're going to be doing a dancing challenge, it looks like. So that's going to be very interesting. From the previews, it looks like there's a couple teams that were kind of not doing so hot. From what I saw was Corinne and Eliza and the Afghanimals, believe it or not. So we could definitely be switching our power rankings pretty quickly if that's what, who knows. Amazing Race editing kind of steers you wrong ways sometimes.
So here's a little paragraph I got it for you. Sure. Teams travel to Vietnam where they must master synchronized dancing, karaoke, singing, and fishing for prawns. So that'll be interesting to see. It seems just off of the preview that the dancing is an issue and the fishing for prawns seems to be an issue for some of the teams. But we'll see.
I see that the crabs have come back. I think didn't we just have crabs? Like what was that? Last season or 2 seasons ago? Yeah, I think it was last season we had crabs,
Hmm?
and they kept getting pinched. So that's interesting how they're back already. But
But that makes sense too because of where they are.
Sure.
Right? I mean, crab is a very big thing in Vietnam.
sure,
So that makes
they
sense.
gotta do what's popular in that country. So that definitely makes
Right.
sense. So yeah, I'm looking forward to. I think this week might even be a better episode than this past week. So I think Amazing Race 31 is pretty good so far. What do you think?
So far, yeah. So far, it's done a really good job of keeping my interest, and each race to the mat has been pretty close. Which I mean, that's always good. You like to see, like you said, what seems to be like the difference of like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean,
can change the race.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I was sad to see Rupert go because he is such a funny character. But man, he just wasn't cut out for this game. It's just he wasn't gonna last. But he was good for TV.
Good.
Yeah, I was just saying he was good for TV. So.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So. All right, Calbert, you have any final comments before we close it out?
Should be good next week. I'm looking forward to seeing. Mostly if we have a third elimination, I'm going to venture a guess and say that we won't.
Oh.
Because that's something that I mean, has it happened before? Yes. It would be very, very kind of like the U-turn this past week. It's very, very uncommon to have U-turn so quickly in the race to start off. It's also very, very uncommon to have 3 teams eliminated right away. I don't know anything, but I'm going to take a guess and say that maybe nobody gets eliminated.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I remember season, I believe it was 27. I think it was 27. We had a non-elimination in the third episode, so. We had, so it's obviously very possible. So we will definitely have to see. I'm looking forward to it. And remember, no Amazing Race May 15th because of Survivor finale. So we will have one off week that week. So just to put that out there in case anybody thought that we were going to have Amazing Race every week. So unfortunately, there's one week we won't have it. So, all right, that'll do it for this Amazing Race recap episode 2. I hope you enjoyed it. And hey, if you do listen to this, let us know what you think of our power rankings, and let us know if you think that we may have rated some teams higher than they should have been, or maybe we're underestimating some teams. So let us know in the comments, and please subscribe. Then you'll get these episodes as quickly as it gets released, which is going to be in about 15 minutes. So, all right, signing off. See you later.